Yeah, the demo is all set up, so I'll.
Yeah, no, I think we can start, Radha, I guess. So, guys, I think before Radha starts, I just want to uh, formally thank Radha once again for taking our time and meeting all of you. And today, Radha will make an endeavor to give hands-on experience to all of you using the demo that Radha has prepared. Uh, all of you, most of you already know Radha, but for those who are meeting Radha for the first time, Radha Krishna is a technical education lead at Web3 Foundation. The Web3 Foundation's purpose is basically nurturing technologies and applications in the field of decentralized web software protocols. Prior to joining, he was also a faculty at the Department of Computer Science at University of Vermont, and Radha comes with degrees in MS and PhD in computer science from the University of Buffalo, which is the State University of New York. Radha always, helps people. Radha always, tries to, make people understand, especially in the Web3 and decentralized world. He has a lot of skills, and he always, you can find him teaching people to get into this space. So thank you, Radha. Thank you on behalf of IBC Media for taking our time and speaking to our students. We all are eager to listen to you. So all stage is all yours, Radha.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm also sharing like the presentation that I have. I mean, I presented this in the previous session as well. I'll be continuing where I left off, and then show you a couple of demos, to get a feel of like how it is to develop on Substrate, build like your own blockchains, and then deploy them onto like Polkadot. So let's get started. And all of this is, I mean, I can't fit it in 1 hour, so I'm gonna try to do my best here.
Sure.
All right, so let's share the screen. Yeah, I already see some of you are accessing the presentation, which is good. And then let me. Yeah, pretty much in the last session, I've given the backdrop of like what Polkadot is, why Polkadot is like the layer 0 blockchain, and why we have all these blockchains running in parallel, on top of it. So these are like layer 1 blockchains, which can be custom built for your specific application. So yeah, we also talked a little bit about Polkadot architecture. There were questions about like, what are collators, who are like validators. So validators are going to be on the Polkadot relay chain, and collators are the nodes that the parachains, the blockchains that are running on top of Polkadot, they run the nodes called as collators. So the job of collators is to collate, meaning like they collect all the transactions happening in the network. They put them together into a block that gets like validated by Polkadot validators. So pretty much like that, they're not doing any validation. They're just intimating Polkadot validators, okay, this is what happened on our network, and this is our state transition logic. Could you please run, these transactions with this logic and let us know if everything is okay? And if everything is okay, that blocks gets like finalized. So we looked at like, how that is done. I showed you live how this validator set gets like shuffled and reshuffled for the parachains that are attached. And if you're really interested in digging deeper, from initiating the transaction on a parachain, the path that transaction takes throughout its life cycle, that's very well explained at a high level in this blog article. So feel free to like read through. You'll get a very good understanding of what's happening. So I'll try to just summarize like what's going on there. For those of you who are already familiar with like blockchain technology in general, you would have heard about this data structure. It's called a Merkle tree. So the way it works is you put all the state of the blockchain at the lower level. Okay, so if you think of like Bitcoin, like blockchains, what they do is they have accounts and they have balances, but again, like it uses UTXO model. We're not going to go over that. Let's talk about Ethereum. So Ethereum uses the accounts-based model. So every account is tied to like a balance, right? So okay, 0 Ether, 10 Ether, 10.1 Ether. So you can think of all of that as the state of the blockchain, right? So you can have it down there. And what Merkle tree, how it organizes the data is that it picks up the data from different states of the blockchain, be it like, democracy or council or anything that you want to store on the blockchain. So it has that state and then it hashes it. So basically for Kristen's free balance 400, the hash generated is like FB77. Similarly, for all the other items in the state, you generate this hash, and then they both are combined together and you generate another hash and so on and so forth till you end up with the Merkle state root. So this number is sort of a summary of everything that you have below. So if anything changes, like down in the state, like even there's a tiny bit of change in the balance of one of the accounts, then it has direct impact on the state root. So let's see how that is done. So let's say Louis transfers like 50 tokens to Ben, and then there's something happening in the democracy module. It created a new referendum. So what happens is those changes only affect the hash that is directly above them. So if you remember like FC87 here, it has to do with like staking validator that didn't change in the blockchain. So that hash will remain the same, but wherever the changes are happening, that will immediately affect the state change or the hash change right above. And then we sort of put that hash with the unchanged hash, create a new hash, and then finally you'll see a state change in the root. Now, why am I explaining all this? So there is this concern that, does the parachain have to send its entire state to the relay chain, or can it send the state that is only changing? So a better way is like, just send the state that has changed. Sometimes like there might not be any state change. So then you don't have to send a lot of data, right? So think of blockchains as these nodes that are running in a redundant way. Wherever you want to like optimize, you'd like to have like the best optimized solution there. So basically parachains only send the state that has changed and the state transition logic. So whether this balance change is like a valid rule, that is the validity check the validators does. Yeah, so what the validator does is, it checks for all the state transitions. And yeah, so finally, validators of Polkadot will check like, they take the state transition logic, which is a WebAssembly based file. So we'll get to that later. It's one of the core technologies of Substrate and Polkadot. So that Polkadot and Substrate use. So parachain sends that WebAssembly blob and these transactions that happen. Polkadot validator just needs to plug in that blob and run the transactions on it. And if everything looks good, the Polkadot validators issue a certificate. That certificate will live on Polkadot blockchain. So if you're thinking that the entire parachain block will be stored on Polkadot blockchain, you're mistaken there. So the parachain is its own blockchain. So it stores the blocks there. A certificate of that block being finalized is stored in the Polkadot relay chain. And typically that's how all the parachains on Polkadot are dependent on Polkadot's finality. So if that certificate ends up in the finalized block on Polkadot, the parachains can confidently tell the users, okay, so now your transaction is final. And yeah, so how does all of this get taken care of, right? So there's so much of detail that I've mentioned. All of that is working in the background. Most of the people, who are using like parachains don't even know that all of this is happening in the background. And even like you as a developer of parachain, you need not worry about everything that Polkadot does. So your job is to focus on mainly the application that your blockchain has to, support. So that's where like Substrate blockchain building framework comes into picture. So Substrate is like a blockchain building framework. It's modular, flexible, and extensible, meaning you would see that it's not a big chunk of file of code. You have multiple modules. So let's say you are interested in issuing a token on your blockchain, then you have like a balances palette that you can import. Let's say you want to issue NFTs on your blockchain, there is an NFTs palette. If you want to issue, I don't know, or if you want to have like staking or governance or any sort of blockchain functionality that has been explored before, we have like libraries there that are ready to be imported as modules. And the other thing is these modules are not set in stone. It's not like the standard library of Rust or Python. You have to use only that. So you have the complete choice of picking the combination that you want. You can say, okay, I need this module. I don't need this module. I'm going to just like not use it. And also it's extensible. So you can add new code to it. If you're not happy with the existing implementation in that library, you're free to add like your own customized code, change the parameters, and it's quite flexible in that manner. And one good thing about this is these modules have been battle tested. So they've been running on Polkadot, Kusama, and other test networks for over 4 years, all the standard like palettes. So in a way, you can import them and use them with confidence. And of course, in the world of Web3, I mentioned to you already, you have to do your own work. You have to audit the code, such that it doesn't have any vulnerabilities. But yeah, so all of the code is like open and all of the code has been audited. But yeah, so you can reuse all of these battle tested libraries. And when I'm saying this, you can also go parallelly to the Substrate repo. So it lives on Parity Tech. Let's go to the, yep. So I mentioned Substrate is the blockchain building framework, right? So it has all these libraries in a folder called as frame. So if I click on, I can share this as well. Share that in chat. Okay, something happened. I can't see the chat anywhere. Okay, so go to Parity Tech Substrate and then click on frame, and then you'll see all of this. Okay, I found it. Yeah. So here you see what I mentioned earlier, right? So atomic swaps, assets, balances. This is for issuing like tokens. There's democracy, NFTs. So in today's demo, I'm going to show you this Nix palette. It's like a very simple palette that lets you add nicknames to your blockchain accounts. And yeah, and then the reading material that I shared with you, it involves creating your own palette. So let's say one of you has created a palette for social media integration, and then you're generous enough to contribute it to the frame library, make it open source. You can give it to the Substrate repository in a way. So we have all these, and then we have what's let's go to the Polkadot wiki, and then in here. So if you search for open source stack, source. Stack. So let me share this as well. Yeah, I don't know. The chat is not letting me. It's fine. Yeah, so here is where you can see it doesn't matter. Like if you're trying to build your own blockchain, or you're trying to build solutions on top of a blockchain that is already existing. So here you have all the projects that have been made like open source, mainly because like Web3 Foundation is giving grants to them. One of the main needs is that the code that they submit needs to be open source. So here you see everything that is green is being like actively maintained. If something is red, it doesn't, it just means that the developers have moved on to a private repo, or they're no longer working on it. But nevertheless, it can be like a starting point for you. So here you have like plenty of starting code to pursue like your own interest, right? So that's what we're looking at here. So Substrate repo with the standard libraries, and then the Polkadot wiki open source stack with the starter code that you need to get started with your project. So all of that is there for you. And yeah, let's go to the. Yep, thank you very much. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like when we have like Substrate and the battle tested libraries. So I talked about like this frame. So I showed you live what folders it has. So basically, frame is it's framework for runtime aggregation of modularized entities. So which is what you saw, like all those libraries. So they are going to help you simplify your runtime development. So you don't have to start from scratch. Today, if you want to have a blockchain that does basic stuff like Dogecoin, so that solution is readily available for you, even with better functionalities on Substrate. So so you can deploy that blockchain if you want, and then give it publicity. You can create like whatever you want with it. But again, like we're thinking a lot higher than what those simple blockchains can do for you. Yeah, so the frame palettes typically it's almost like drag and drop. I'll show you live. If you want your blockchain to have like an additional feature, you basically so my blockchain needs like staking, my blockchain needs balances, my blockchain needs like democracy. So the way you integrate them into your blockchain is almost like a drag and drop thing in the code. But creating like these individual palette, it requires a lot of effort from your end. You need to learn Rust. You need to learn how to put that together into code that Substrate sort of understands and how that can be integrated. But yeah, with already existing code, it's very easy to incorporate in your code. And the reason like all of this works so seamlessly is because of the technologies, the choice of technologies that Substrate and Polkadot picked, when they were developing the libraries. So all the networking stack is based on like lib peer-to-peer protocol. So lib peer-to-peer protocol is like, if you heard of IPFS, so IPFS is like, this decentralized storage like solution protocol. The same developers of IPFS have developed lib peer-to-peer protocol. So what Polkadot did was it took the technology and then it tweaked a little bit for Substrate nodes. So what this does is when you spin up a node and you start it automatically starts to discover its peer nodes. Okay, someone who is like running the same kind of blockchain node gets like automatically connected to you, sending like blocks, sending information, gossiping transactions, populating the mempool. All of that is sort of taken care by this layer. And the core logic of the blockchain, it's in WebAssembly. So I told you earlier, there's a WebAssembly blob that every Substrate-based blockchain has. And this blob is, you can think of it like a, how would I put it? It's kind of like a virtual machine where all of the modules that you saw, the palettes, they get compiled into this WebAssembly block. And this works in unison. Like, so I can actually show you something here. Let me close this. Polkadot releases. Let's do. Yeah, so basically, every time like Polkadot is sort of released, you see this runtime size. It's just 1.45 MB. It's like it contains all the things that Polkadot implements. If I let's go to so everything that Polkadot implements, the core functionality, it's within that 1.45 MB. And this is like a WASM blob, that virtual machine I'm talking about. And for different like parachains or different blockchains, you see that size is like varying, right? So basically, when you're working on your own like blockchain, you compile everything, and you can actually export it to like this WASM blob, and that contains like the core functionality. This 1.24 MB or this thing for the parachain is going to be shared along with the transactions that happen on the parachain. Okay, so Polkadot validator downloads this WASM blob, and then they get the access to all the transactions. They run this machine on those transactions, and then they're like, okay, everything is working fine. So let's go here. So every single blockchain here has its own like WebAssembly blob that has that sort of takes like all the extrinsics. So if you go to developer tab, go to extrinsics. No clue why this is. All right. Yeah. So if you see all these palettes, auctions, authorship, there's also like balances. So all of this code gets packaged into that WebAssembly blob. And in fact, when we're querying like the chain, like all of this data, it's automatically being fetched from that blob. Okay, so I hope I made my point, and then let's go to the slide again. So that's how powerful WASM is, and it's like an upgrade to EVM. So WASM is almost like so lightweight. It can let you run things on the browser as well, and that's why we have like browser-based light clients that can run on mobiles or like mobile browsers. So all of that is possible because of this. So it's like a better version of like JavaScript, if you can word it that way. And then we have Grandpa, which is like the finality algorithm. So this was developed by researchers at Web3 Foundation, which is where I work at. So it's like it allows for like a hybrid consensus. So where the chain is always live. So you'll never hear about Polkadot going down, unlike like other chains. So if your chain is purely like BFT based, then sometimes the finality can get stalled and the chain will stop producing blocks. So in Polkadot, it's a hybrid chain. So you have blocks being continuously like built on the blockchain, and then Grandpa algorithm is kind of like BFT algorithm that finalizes in a deterministic way, rather than like Bitcoin, which is only probabilistic. So these three put together, you can build like your own blockchain. It need not even be like part of like Polkadot. It can run as a standalone blockchain. And yeah, so when people mention to me about like the private solutions, so this is what you can do. You can go to Substrate. So let me show you the demo. I think now is the right time to get there. This here. This, yeah. So basically, there's like what's called a Substrate node template. So let me show that as well. Substrate node template. So it is actually like a well-maintained repository, but because it's so actively developed, sometimes if you just download it and then run it, you may face a couple of issues. So feel free to add issues here if you see something. But yeah, so this Substrate node template is like a very basic blockchain. It doesn't do a lot. It has, so if you go to runtime, let's see what palettes it is importing. So for those of you who are familiar with like Rust, Cargo is like sort of a package manager. So you can go to, so runtime I told you is like the brains of the blockchain. Inside Cargo, you can see like all the palettes it is importing. Okay, so it's importing balances palette. It's importing like Grandpa, which I showed you is the consensus algorithm. Sudo, it gives you like full access as a developer to the whole blockchain that you're building. You may not want that on like a decentralized blockchain. But yeah, so frame system, frame runtime, these are all like core libraries. And what else? Yeah. So yeah, anything to do with like SP it's called Substrate primitive. So all of these are Substrate primitive libraries that you would want to have in your blockchain. But yeah, very basic like blockchain here, right? So which is very different from Polkadot. So if you go to Polkadot, like you'll see this list really huge. I'll show that later, but yeah, so this cargo.toml file is going to host like all these dependencies. And what it is doing is it's going to the Substrate repo. It's specifying like the branch from which this entire library should be imported. All right, so let's go here. Yeah, so basically if I spin this Substrate node up, it's going to have all these contents. So let me do that. So let's go here. So I compiled like the node template earlier for you so that we don't waste time during today's session. So the compiled like node template is sitting in this folder. So let's go to target. Yeah. So in target, like debug, folder. Let's do debug, and then you have the node template, which is like this one. So node template is compiled. So I'm initializing that node, that blockchain node in development mode, and then enabling like WebSockets so that we can interact with this blockchain node externally through websites. So let me do that. Takes a little while for getting started. So previously, when I started, it already created like a couple of blocks. So it created like block 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then that's where I sort of stopped. But anyway, so I initialized it again. So now you can clearly see. So it's creating like block number 1, block number 2. So this is like a live blockchain on this virtual machine. Let's talk to it. So let's talk to it through. So I told you like Polkadot.js is like one way to interact with the blockchain, right? So we have like a blockchain that is running on this node, and now I'm going to like talk to it through Polkadot.js. Yeah, so it basically connected to the playground that I have. So playground.substrate, WebSocket connection, and on that I'm exploring. So whatever you see here, so here we have block number 8. So that is being shown in a better way through Polkadot.js interface. So this is the block hash, and that is the current like block number. And what can we do with it? So this Substrate node template comes with like some preloaded accounts. So with Alice, Bob, Charlie, and so on and so forth. So let's try to send, from Alice to Ferdy, let's send some tokens. Make transfer, sign and submit. So this is giving you like the transaction, status. So apparently the transfer went through. If we go to Ferdy in the account there, so they have, so they have the 10,000 units sent. Let's go to the Network Explorer again. So clearly within all these like blocks, it's running like a ghost chain, like no activity is happening on the blockchain except for this one. So what we did was from Alice to Ferdy, we sent so-and-so amount of tokens, and then Ferdy has like this balance endowed, together. So for all the, so I told you like everything that the blockchain sort of imports from frame library, if there is a possibility to interact with it, you interact with it through the extrinsic tab. So here, the balances palette, I showed you that we imported, right? So grandpa, there's pseudo, there's system, and then there's interestingly a template module. So let's see what's in there. Let me click that. So there's something called as do something and cause error, very basic methods for what that's why it's called like a template. Let's take a look at like what's in the template code. So we'll go here. So in the runtime, you're able to, I showed you in the cargo toml file, you're able to import like all these dependencies, right? So let's say you're not happy with the frame palettes, or let's say there's no palette that has implemented your current use case. So then what would you do? Okay, so now I'm stopping the blockchain just for saving resources. So now you should have an option to create your own palette, right? So that's where you would go to this palettes folder. So currently it has the starter code called template. If you go to the lib.rs file, so this is where all the source code for that particular palette is going to be. So let me click on that. And in here, you'll find some basic boilerplate starting code. This would let this palette sort of compile, and when it gets compiled, it compiles with these two implementations that I showed earlier. So cause error, the function, that's the extrinsic, through which you're interacting to the blockchain through this palette. So there's this cause error, and then do something. Now here is where you have like full flexibility. So if you're comfortable with Rust, the advanced traits or the types, so here you're able to write your own logic. So the tutorial that I've shared with you, the Substrate kitties, so it basically asks you to modify this particular file and add like your own customized functionality and integrate all of this with the core logic of the blockchain. So the core logic of blockchain, the brains of blockchain, I told you it lives in the runtime. So let's go to runtime. In runtime source folder, you have the lib.rs file. Yeah, let's see briefly see like what this file has. Okay, so it's using a bunch of things from the Substrate primitive like libraries. Let's go. Let me show you some interesting thing here. So there is a way for you to like actually change the block time from 6 seconds to 1 second. So you're able to actually change it here if you want to. So Substrate sort of offers that level of like flexibility for you. Yeah. So here, instead of adding like a block every, move this side. This is irritating. Okay, I'll write 1000 there. So and then save it. And now if I compile this node and start running it, it'll start producing a block like every second or so. So yeah, so here is where, so palettes in themselves don't have the parameters already mentioned. So let me show you something in, yeah. So let's say this Nix palette, I told you that you can add like nicknames to blockchains, right? So here, here is where you as a developer have full flexibility in setting the parameters of that palette. So any sort of state that you want to add to the blockchain, it should be expensive, right? So you shouldn't let people just change things on the blockchain because all those changes have to be replicated on thousands and thousands of nodes that are running on the network. So to prevent like spamming, you should have some kind of fee for the user. So Substrate basically takes like deposits for stuff like that. There's also something called as existential deposit. Like if you want to have like a blockchain account, then you have to have a minimum balance on it. So that's sort of defined in the balances palette. Yeah. So the existential deposit, like I mentioned, is like 500 units right then. So that like there's no, if you heard of like Bitcoin or Ethereum having these dust accounts. So dust account is like a very, very tiny balance, which has to be replicated on so many nodes. So what developers did was they made it like minimum. Okay, so this account should have at least like 500 units so that we, sort of preserve it in the state of the blockchain. So any balance below this gets like reaped. So that gets like dusted or burnt. All right, so we have a reservation fee. Let me change it to 500 as well. It gives you that level of flexibility. And also for the nickname, currently the minimum number of characters that is like required in that nickname is 8. So let me change it to 5. Okay. So earlier it was 8. So if I try to change something, give a name that is below 8 characters, it would have thrown an error. So now I'm changing it to 5, and then max length is 32 or whatever. But yeah, so let me show you first, like how, without compiling this, how it works. Let's interact with this blockchain. I need to run it. So let me start it again. And yeah, so basically you put all of these things together and you construct what is called like runtime. So you're creating the brains for the blockchain. So here you're adding like everything that you want to use in this order. So basically you have, yeah. So balances, the nicknames, all of these are put together, and that the WASM blob gets like created. So let's go to playground. All right, so let's go to extrinsics. Now we are interacting with the Nix palette. What we're going to do is we're going to set a name. So Alice is the existing name on the blockchain. So now you have an option to change it to, let's say, now it's still running the previous logic. So let's see what happens if I just try to enter like a 5-character like nickname. So it should throw an error saying that, yeah. So let's look at this error. Nickname is too short. So let's try to write my full name here. Perfect. So, and then submit a transaction. All right, so the transaction sort of went through. You can also like do some exploration here. So what it did was, for that account, it added this name, and then also what it did was it added a bit of balance. Now I showed you the place where you can customize this. You can increase that amount if you want. You can, set like a lower barrier for the nickname. All that is like customizable for this particular palette. So let's do, to just show you that the blockchain is actually holding that nickname, let's go to accounts. And then, yeah, so from now on, like Alice is called like Radhakrishna on this particular blockchain. So now let's issue like another extrinsic there. What we're going to do is, let's go to Nix palette. And then here, I'm going to clear the name. Okay, so this has that. Let me submit this transaction. Okay, so that is in block as well. Now that is finalized. Let's go here. So Alice is Alice. And then if we go to the Explorer, you see that the nickname was cleared and the balance that was reserved earlier, so that was like sort of released, and then it's back into my account again. And yeah, so we're talking about, yeah. So now you can clearly see this node in action. It's running. Lib peer-to-peer is letting you like interact with, if I spin the same node elsewhere, it's going to get connected. It's letting you like interact with this node. Blocks are being created. There's consensus inbuilt. And then in WebAssembly, you can import like whichever library you want, and then you can interact with it. I showed this to you already. So Substrate node template, feel free to download that, run it. If you have some errors, intimate like the developers, but hopefully it should sort of like run. You can also download, like if you're a little bit advanced, you can download the actual Substrate template. It has like all the palettes imported in it. You can download Polkadot node, run it. You can also see like how it's working. All of this is available for you. Like, you can just download, compile, and then sort of run the node. So the demo that I showed was on the playground.substrate.dev website. This is right now, the capacity for that is just like 5 concurrent sessions. So that's why, given that there are 80 attendees today, so I didn't want to share this and then crash the system. But later on, like if you just want to play around with like Substrate node without having to install it on your machine, just go to this playground.substrate.dev, and all you need is like a GitHub account. So I can actually show you. So all you need is like a GitHub account. Playground. Yeah. So basically, you accept the terms and conditions, have a GitHub account, enter, and then there'll be like a Substrate node template. You can run it, and then from the moment you run it, you're going to see like the blockchain in action. So yeah, so I'd like to highlight this for you. As a developer, you can always get started with Substrate node template. It's very easy in terms of like development. What's a little bit difficult is like creating like your own palettes. Now, for this, again, like I wish I had all the material for you to get through this learning curve. Like, how would you master the concepts of Rust in sort of building like a successful palette? I know the tutorial that I gave to you for reading does that job, but again, like that whole content, it can be expanded into a 1-month course, right? So that's what Polkadot Blockchain Academy does, to give you the exact details about, why do we use this? Why do we have to write this code here? Why are we using macros? So this sort of like in-depth instruction is something that we are working on. So by the end of summer, we want to release those 2 courses on as a MOOC, like a self-learning course on edX. So once that is there, I'll definitely make sure I'll send out that material to you. But for now, I'm just sharing like what I have. So this requires a learning curve. It involves learning the key Rust concepts and then understanding how they are going to be used in Substrate. So building your own palette takes that kind of effort. And that's why you have, so let's go to one of the parachains, right? So let me do that right now. So let's go to Akala. So they took like a Web3 Foundation grant back in the day, like in 2017, 2018. And then they spent a lot of time like developing these palettes. Okay, so they have an aggregated DEX or Oracle. See, they didn't go to an extent to develop like their own balances palette. They reused it from Substrate, thing. And then they implemented a bunch of other palettes. So unfortunately, like these are like closed source, once the Substrate code is given to you, you're open to, put your code like in the public domain, or you can make it like private as well. And then, yeah, so Akala has like all these. And if you want to see something different, let's go to somebody who's doing different things. So Frequency is like a social media, social graph kind of like parachain. So let's see what palettes they have. So I also like encourage you to, do your own exploration on Polkadot.js. It's going to give you a sneak peek into every parachain that is out there. let's see how far these people have come in terms of like functionality. So you're doing the same thing. Yeah, so they implemented their own like frequency transaction payment. It sort of makes sense because social media, like for every like or share or something, you need not sign the transaction with your account. That will be so annoying, right? So if you want to like somebody's post, you have to sign that transaction or whatever, and the payment that structure that is it has. So it makes sense for them to like do their own thing rather than implementing the standard transaction payment. Yeah, so they have like some schemas, some stateful storage, and that's the kind of like diversity that I'm talking about. So BitGreen is doing something with like carbon credits. So let's see what they did right here. Yeah, so they have like carbon credits, carbon credit pools. So let's go here. So here they're adding like different like implementations that are suitable for their implementation. Now let's say you're creating like a blockchain solution for handling like land sales or land agreements for a government. Then you would have a specific palette for that. You can use the regular palettes for like balances, so what it does is it lets you talk to, so Polkadot being like this cross-chain solution, it lets you get balances from other blockchains as well. And with that, you're able to do whatever you want in here, right there. Okay, and you can go even a bit further. Sorry. So you can go even a little bit further and then sort of change the Substrate primitives themselves. So if you're not happy with the cryptography that Substrate has used, you have an option to swap it with something that you want. You can also swap the consensus model. So let's say you don't want to use grandpa consensus in your blockchain. There is a way to swap it out as well. I can show you a real world example. So we have in live networks, you can go to LF0. Let's move there. So for LF0, so it's like a privacy preserving blockchain. So they create like blocks like every second. So I told you Polkadot creates a block every 6 seconds. They were like, no, we want like a faster chain. We don't want to be restricted by Polkadot's, block finality. So they implemented like their own like finality layer, and then they use the Substrate code base, swap the consensus layer, and built like their own blockchain. So they have their own, I don't know, like, yeah. So they have their own governance, or they have their own like staking. So their own validators who are doing like the block validation for them. So they in no way are connected to like Polkadot. So that's an option too. But whereas if you're like a parachain, I told you everything that happens there. So parachains are going to run collators. So let's go to one of the parachains and see who their collators are. Okay, so for statement, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 collators. For, let's go see how many collators we have for, what was the other thing that I showed you earlier? Yeah, frequency. Let's see how many collators these people are running. So they're running like 7 collators. So a parachain, the number of nodes that it runs, it's totally up to the parachain itself. So let's see someone who's running a lot of collators. Let's go here. And then, yeah, they're not exposing that details here. Let's go to a column. Collators. Yeah. So pretty much like the choice is up to you, and how they get elected, how they get connected to the relay chain. That choice is for you as like a blockchain developer. And yeah, so just to highlight, like Polkadot code base is most of its code base is from Substrate, and Substrate has a lot of other libraries as well. So we have like EVM compatible like smart contracts library, or WebAssembly based like smart contracts library, whichever one you need to choose. And there's plenty of other functionalities that Substrate offers, which is not present on Polkadot. Because Polkadot is a relay chain, it need not even have like smart contracts. So I shared this tutorial with you. So it gives you, this tutorial is a little bit dated. So if when you're following it, and then if you're running into any sort of issues, like Deepak mentioned in last session, I'm available on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, or you can also raise the issues on the repository so that we are on top of it. But the core concepts and the flow, this tutorial does a really good job, like explaining all that. And just to show you that for every single blockchain use case out there, Substrate has been instrumental in sort of like doing it. And also, if you're following the Polygon space, one of the Polygon co-founders has recently released like a blockchain, and they've used Substrate to do it. So yeah, plenty of projects, blockchain projects using Substrate for its like modularity. The only entry barrier is like Rust and understanding like how Substrate sort of uses Rust to create all these solutions. And we are, from the technical education team, we are striving to eliminate that entry barrier. So we want to give self-paced courses that anybody can follow and then get started with development of palettes on Substrate. Yeah, and then Polkadot is fully functional. So its parachains were launched in 2021, all of them creating blocks, Polkadot like validating those blocks. And yeah. So yeah, I'd like to highlight like even Polkadot is actually delivering its promise by diversifying like the blockchain use cases into several, not just NFTs, not just like Bitcoin or so we're doing a lot of like social networking, lots of social impact and humanitarian projects right there. And we'd be very glad for you to get onboarded into the ecosystem. And having like a WASM blob that is like the brains of the blockchain lets you also do efficient governance, because the core logic of the blockchain is part of that blob, and it's one MB, right? So it's basically going to let you do these forkless upgrades. So from this block to this block, what we do is we swap the brains of the blockchain, and this new block is going to be executed based on the upgraded code. Now, how is this different from Ethereum's merge, or that is that there you have to give the blockchain node for download for all the node operators. The ones who download it, create like one chain. The ones who don't, they create another chain, creating the fork. Like Polkadot doesn't have that problem. So we're able to, with this WebAssembly technology, putting every core logic in there, making changes in that blob, and just like plugging it into like the blockchain nodes, not only for the relay chain, but also for parachains. So we are able to do a lot of these forkless upgrades on the blockchain. And also we do a lot of blockchain interoperability. You would have heard of these millions of dollars of hacks that are happening because of like bridges. Nobody follows the security audits, or there are always code vulnerabilities or social engineering attacks. So Polkadot sort of solves it through XCM. So XCM is going to allow these chains to like talk to each other with the full security of like Polkadot at stake. Yeah, and it also has like a beautiful XCM executor, because I told you blockchains on Polkadot ecosystem, they continuously improve themselves. They sort of upgrade themselves. So let's say before the upgrade, parachain B was executing the transfer here, and then after the parachain upgraded, some things have changed on the parachain. So then the way this is handled is you have an XCM executor, which is very logical. So it does the routing to the new destination where it should execute the transfer. You as a developer has full control on the XCM executor on your parachain. with any changes you make, you're able to make it like backwards compatible with the entire network through this architecture. So this level of interoperable like architecture is missing in blockchain space in general. Like, Ethereum wouldn't have thought of implementing this sort of executor, right? So Polkadot from ground up is built for interoperability and the shared security. I showed this in the previous session. So XCM is live. Over like 200,000 messages have been transmitted from one blockchain to the other in Polkadot ecosystem. All of those are like secured by the Polkadot's security. And all of this XCM code is heavily audited so that if somebody has to really hack into this and then take advantage of it, it's almost impossible because this code has been thoroughly tested, audited, and if everybody complies with the same standard, then you wouldn't have an issue with that. The issues with the other bridges out there. Yeah, plenty of projects. You can check like parachains.info. They give like a detailed information on different kinds of projects, different kinds of categories those projects are live in. And if you as a developer or team is looking for like funds to get started, we have plenty of avenues there as well. So if you're doing something common good, Polkadot Treasury has done a good job like sort of funding such projects. But getting there requires like some form of credibility. So to establish that credibility, you can apply for Web3 Foundation grants. So Web3 Foundation grants range from 10,000 to 30,000 or probably 50,000 or more. You can, all of the previously submitted grant applications are like open source, like our comments, our evaluation, everything is like out there. It's all open. So I encourage you to apply for one of these grants if you really have a good idea. And yeah, and with that, I end my presentation and I'm open for questions now.
Hey, Radha, thank you so much for this wonderful session. It was quite amazing to see. And I think there were a few doubts which were handled by our technical expert here, Deepak Chaudhary, who I think you have. Deepak, have you met Radha at Polka, India,
Yep.
in Bangalore?
Yeah, we met.
Yeah,
I think we
nice.
have a picture together too, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So guys, if you have any questions, please push it out for Radha here in the chat box, or if you want to communicate with him, just feel free to ping him on his LinkedIn profile or even on Twitter. Let me just share his link with you.
Yeah, so I just shared the grants program link as well. I just want to show you. Yeah, so here are so people typically apply, as like GitHub pull requests. So basically you have, yeah, so somebody creates like a grant. You have like people from Web3 Foundation actually evaluating that grant. All of those, evaluations are right there. So if you go to pull requests and then see, there were over 1,600 grant applications from like 2017 that we had. All of that information is there. I think there's even like a better website that shows like all this details. Yeah, but yeah, so that's the grants program repository for you. And yeah, here are the details. Like you have level 1, 10,000, level 2, 30,000, level 3, it can go to any sort of amount based on like your interest. Okay, so I'll finish the presentation now.
Yeah, so guys, yes, Praveen, sir, go ahead.
Sorry, Deepak. Yeah, so Radha, so you talked about Polygon getting into using Substrate. What was that? Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah. So let me quickly pull up that blockchain. It's called Polygon co-founder modular blockchain. Let's see. Project Avail.
Oh, that avail is the data availability thing you're talking about.
Yes, so they use Substrate to do it. I can actually share the GitHub repo. You'll just see the same Substrate template node, starter
Oh,
code there.
I didn't know that. No, I knew that they have come up with this data avail because I think they're claiming that they have solved the data availability problem, but I didn't know that they have used Substrate.
Yeah. So I'm just going to show it like live again.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like what we do is basically we don't like boast or have like a trumpet saying like, this is like a good technology, but as you can see, people are using it. Like, so Project Avail, there's like runtime, there is palettes. So if you go to runtime, let's see like what they're using. Yeah, so they're using like all the Substrate primitives. They neatly commented the code much better than the Substrate repository. So they show like frame dependencies. So I showed you palette balances right now. They're using all this, and then probably they're using something on their own as well. If you go to Avail and then in palettes, like they should have like developed like their own palettes there. So yeah, so that's how flexible this is. Like I showed you LF0 who are doing like their own blockchain, independent blockchain. Avail did this, and more people, even like private blockchains that don't make it to the light, they're using Substrate-based like solutions there.
Understood. Yeah. So basically, this will work in a WASM kind of environment. And
yes, so basically they're going to be like a Substrate-based blockchain. Everything is taken care of. Whatever logic they do will be in the WASM blob. And the beauty of that is, so if on Polygon, if you have to enact like a upgrade, then you have to talk to every Polygon, node operator out there. With Avail, like you won't have that issue. You can do this on-chain upgrades that are forkless, and yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking about rather that other applications which are there on Polygon, they have several solutions, POS or others. If they have to use this data availability services which is on WASM, how will that interface work? How will that connection work? I mean, is there any complication or that is simple?
No, so WASM is simply the brains of the blockchain, right? So it can do anything. So it's just like a CPU that's being integrated with like different services. So this data availability thing, they would create some form of like APIs that people can subscribe to, and it has nothing to do with WASM. So WASM is taking care of the blockchain state transition. The transactions that get validated on the blockchain, that blob takes care of it. But apart from that, like the other functionality, it need not be in WASM.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying, basically this is just lowest level of the opcodes that's being handled there and being exposed as an API kind of thing, basically. What happens?
Exactly. So think of like Ethereum, like the state transition logic of Ethereum. So rather than that being hard coded in like the node itself, you're having this blob that can be sort of updated.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So guys, Deepak, do we have any question from the team?
As of now, I don't see any questions, but I'm sure that once they start doing interesting by then, some questions might pop in. And for that, we obviously have Discord for them to go and address, and where our experts will be guiding them. And obviously, if there's something specific for Radha, then I've shared you the link of his LinkedIn.
Reach out to me, because especially Kian from Parity has taken over like the docs, Substrate docs as a project for himself. In fact, like he was the one who implemented all the Polkadot staking. So the docs are going to get a lot of updates in the next few months. So we don't expect like everything to work, because one part of the doc may be like previous one and one like updated. So it's only when people start like going in a flow, we get to know there is an issue. So if you run into an issue, just let us know. We're going to like improve on our end as well.
Absolutely. And as Radha has already shown, I mean, there's so much benefit to come and start working with Substrate and enter the Polkadot network. I think there shouldn't be no reason to just stay away from it, even if you are working on any project out there, I think you're trying your hand in Substrate is one of the most important things that you will learn, especially when you have such a rewarding network in front of you, where don't just come and build, and at the same time you also get rewarded. And obviously, when you're doing it with IBC, we are helping you along the way, and this was just your foundational aspect of your learning curve. But at the same time, we will be guiding you furthermore. So all in all, what Radha has covered in the last two sessions is extremely instrumental in understanding that where you are standing right now, where you are as of now, is basically amazing. I mean, the place is amazing and the network is amazing. So you just need to come and start working and trying your. So I have one question from Mario. He says, Radha sir, will I be able to create a private relay chain and add the required runtime web assemblies for DAO and governance? Connect only 4 chains to communicate within each other to earn and spend. It's in Q&A, Radha. I think it'll be easier for you.
Yes. So my only advice for you is there are 300 developers who are administering like the updates to the relay chain. So once you fork off into like this private relay chain, it is on you. So so right now the Polkadot relay chain, the repository itself, it has lots of parameters out there that are flexible for your sort of use case. But the Polkadot relay chain everything is adjusted in such a way that it supports over 100 parachains right now. So whether
yeah, so Radha, sorry, I think sorry for interrupting you in between. So one thing is that if you are having your private relay chain, will I be still able to use the validators from relay chain, the main relay chain? No, right?
So when you say private relay chain, it's like a private network with private nodes. So basically, no.
I'll have to put everything like all the staking and the whole security around it and all that, right?
Exactly.
So Mario, not a great idea, because I think I'm not sure. The point is that what exactly do you really want? The question is that what do you want to achieve by having your own private relay chain? Because private relay chain in this system works as the hub of the whole system, right? Which does certain things.
Provides security for the parachains that are connected. It provides like the channels through which like they can communicate with each other. So already a relay chain exists. Like Polkadot is a relay chain, Kusama is a relay chain, West End is a relay chain, which is like a test network of Polkadot. So all of those have the validator infrastructure set up. So West End, there are, I think, 20 validators who are run by Parity Tech, and that takes up resources. Like those are 20 machines or 20 instances on a cloud, which are running 24/7. So you have to take that into account as well. Why you're having that private relay chain, and how do you justify that architecture when whatever use case you have can be implemented as part of a dApp or as a part of like parachain or as a part of like standalone chain. It need not be a relay chain. It can be like a standalone chain in itself, like LF0, who are doing stuff on their own, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So Deepak, I think Mario wants to talk. Let's allow him for a couple of minutes while we do that. I think rather, in my opinion, the relay chain is like you said, relay chain is the system that orchestrates several things, and the system has been built in such a way that the parachains take the functional role there, basically, in Polkadot, right? And I think
like the application, all
application
the
role, yeah.
And because we don't believe in one size fits all, that application need not comply with the restrictions of any blockchain, because they have full control over like the blocks and blockchain. They can set on their own weights. They can set their own tokenomics model. So in all that, they don't even have to interact with the relay chain. Like they don't need to have DOT tokens to do their daily job, because once you win the slot by bonding your DOT, you're getting two years worth of bandwidth with the relay chain. And in that interaction, you're not even spending a single DOT. Unlike like Ethereum, where if you're building an L2 solution, you need to have like Ether and you're dependent on the Ether token price, right? So here we're sort of insulating you from every sort of like price movement that is out there, giving a lot of predictability. So all we are guaranteeing is a performance that we are continuously like improving it. And yeah, so a lot of thought process went into creating this architecture to make blockchains interoperable and then sovereign.
100%. So I think before Mario talks, rather one question from my side is that, and I'm generally worried about that. If you look at different types of wallets, and again, as we know, wallets are nothing but a private and public key storehouse where it generates and it's used for sending transactions to a specific blockchain. Now the question is that different like Ethereum EVM compatible chains where there is one standard for private and public pair key, Polkadot has got a different standard unlike others. So how do you see this system being consolidated? Because if I am a user and if I have Bitcoin, I have got Ether, I have got, say, for example, Sol, AVAX, I have got dots. Why should I be forced to have multiple wallets to operate in this crypto industry? I mean, I'm just talking from a layman's point of view here.
I mean, so to eliminate that issue, some parachains on Polkadot are compatible with like Ethereum, like Moonbeam. I think they have like EVM based implementation, and MetaMask works with like Moonbeam as well. But Polkadot itself, I don't know what the design consideration was. We felt this sort of wallet encryption scheme sort of works better than that, and then we had that, I think.
Yeah, well, that is where the world is being, I would say, fragmented, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, MetaMask cannot hold DOT, right? And because
no, you need to have like a Polkadot compatible like wallet there installed.
Yeah, so I mean that's something which I see a problem in this industry from a long term, and especially when Polkadot is taking such a major step in consolidating this entire industry. I think my request that for you to think of something in this.
I think we are not restricting the parachains to stick with like our wallet, right? So they can create a solution that is compatible with MetaMask. So it's only like Polkadot, the DOT token itself. Like if you want to transfer, you need to have like a Polkadot wallet. But if you're building like a parachain solution, there are multiple like parachains that are EVM compatible, MetaMask compatible.
Which could be held in MetaMask, basically.
Yes.
So what basically what you're saying is that a parachain is, of course, that's what you said earlier also, a parachain is authorized to have its own encryption mechanism for the public-private key pair. Yep. And that could be, and then how will that interact with the DOT? I mean,
so
can that
through XCM, so through XCM, like you are able to send DOT to Moonbeam, and then there you have like dots in MetaMask, which are like derivatives of like the actual DOT.
Okay, so but can I have a liquidity pair of DOT and Ether? That I can have, right?
On it's already live on like Moonbeam, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if you're so you're still thinking like Polkadot, like Ethereum, we are not. Like we are the layer 0 blockchain. We want to insulate ourselves from everything else. Like even staking balances, I told you, they'll all be like their own parachains, and Polkadot will just be supporting these individual blockchains that address like the ecosystem problems, right? So you mentioned something very valid. We know like for user adoption, like there are millions of users for MetaMask and not many for Polkadot. But again, like why would you need like Polkadot wallet for? Like you might be staking on the network, or if you just want to send it to some other network through which you have these pairs that interact with like Ethereum ecosystem, you would just initiate that transaction, send the derivatives there, and then they're like do whatever you want with it there.
Yeah, no, that is true. I know, I agree with you, but then still see, then the DOT usage gets restricted to a very specific purpose. And if, say, for example, if the DOT needs to become a paramount token in future, DOT needs to be in the hands of many people, right? And that cannot happen beyond, even if, say, for example, there are several parachains which are EVM compatible, and their tokens are listed on the MetaMask and other, exchanges. But then DOT is not in the hands of people. That's what is my point here.
Yeah, so DOT was never meant to be in the hands of like general public. It was always the parachain teams that are trying to, so they are like the main audience. Like for Polkadot itself, the DOT token should be mainly with the parachain teams, in order to win like a slot and then get that thing. And people who are really interested in the ecosystem, they use DOT tokens for governance. So let's say you're like a stakeholder in one of the parachains, and then you want to have your say in the entire like Polkadot like relay chain. You get DOT tokens to influence the governance decisions there. So there's staking, there's governance. So these are like the and there is like parachain auctions, right? Like how do you secure your bandwidth with the Polkadot relay chain for 2 years? So you have to bond certain amount of like DOT for that. So these three are like the use cases for DOT, and they were never intended to be a hurdle for like a parachain team. Like we are not talking about unreasonable hike in the prices, or so the idea was to make DOT abundant so that none of this gets like affected badly or create like artificial like demand that spikes the price or whatever. So it was not, it was never meant to be that. It was just meant to be the engine that drives the internet for blockchains.
Okay, no, I know I'm taking a lot of time, but then how would you see the price, price action? I mean, I see the use cases become too limited in case of DOT. Why would you see a massive price action?
So once you have like, so any sort of asset out there, once you see like utility for that, people tend to use that as for something else too. For instance, DOT, the primary utility is this. And let's say there's a lot of like players who are really interested in DOT ecosystem who start like accumulating DOT so that their future is sustained. You'll see that that sort of demand, like creating demand for DOT elsewhere too, like in DeFi, or using DOT as like deposits elsewhere, or we don't know where like DOT will go. But with this fundamental engine sort of driving DOT's utility, we feel like DOT is going to be easily imported into parachains for like their own use cases if they ever want to.
Understood.
But again, like tokenomics or price is not something that I deal with.
Okay.
So whatever advice I give here, it's with my limited knowledge of what's going on in that area. But yeah, so the fundamentally, if DOT is able to deliver the primary utility that it has promised, and once there is utility and demand, and that's how the network gets incentivized, right? So staking gives you like rewards, and it's giving the rewards in DOT. And if DOT doesn't have any value or thing, like the system sort of collapses. So it's by design. So if DOT is holding some value, I think that's how
system is working. Yeah.
Yeah, it incentivizes the validators to run their nodes so that they earn the rewards in DOT, and then keep like sustaining the network.
Thank you so much, Radha. I think Matthew, you are there.
Let me just pull him again.
Yeah, I think just let's give a couple of minutes to Matthew. I know, Radha, sorry, it's already 20 minutes over, I guess. Apologies for that. We'll try to quickly close it.
Sir. Yes, sir,
yeah,
absolutely. And guys, a very important disclaimer from Radha that whatever we discuss here is not an investment advice. It's just a workshop. It's a session where we are here to learn the maximum on the technicalities.
I mean, that should be understandable. So
yeah,
I'm a technical educator, not financial advisor.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary,
hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Hello, Radha sir. Hello once again, Radha sir. So I attended through the workshop, and yes, I mean I am new to Polkadot, and of course it will take me some time to understand the stuff. But I should really know how my idea is working on. So see, I got this concept of private chain because I've been working on a project for 7 years. It's like based. I'll keep it very simple. It's a sewage cleaning machine. it's going to be helpful with manual scavengers. I hope you know what manual scavengers are. And farmers are going to make use of it. So you see farmers are doing a job over here, and manual scavengers are doing a job over here, and I am dealing them with my own company called as MarkTech. MarkTech called as man and robot kinship. That's the full form. And the farmers are going to interact with business people to sell their products. So let's say all these 4 people, whatever transactions they make, they're all having 4 separate blockchains, and they have to be connected through a private relay chain. So that particular private relay chain will be consisting of certain validators and smart contracts to make these transactions go through and record all the details, the database of the people working and the people who are trading with the farmers for the transactions they make. So by doing this, I am not involving the central government or the state government over here. It's all an artificial intelligence based government that is giving fair share of money to every person involved in here. Like, let's say it's being like this simple. Farmers, if they have to get their products to a market nearby my place, it has to go through traders and has to go through many FISI sort of organizations. So the amount that farmers get from the products they sell and what we have to pay has a lot of differences. It's like the farmer is directly coming and interacting with the market to sell his products, but through blockchain. So in no way his money is reduced like it used to be before in a centralized way. So everyone's having an equal pay, and of course, having people to work as validators from the community which I mentioned in will actually make educational awareness. Same time, since I attended the last class, I mean the previous class, day before yesterday, I actually saw there was only one blockchain, one Polkadot blockchain present in India, somewhere on top of Gujarat. Nowhere else was present. So I'll be basically bringing the first ever South Indian blockchain community in a private way. So that will be a great impact. I mean, of course, being in the fact that we are in the currently evolving stage of Rust and programming, it will create a lot of changes technologically. And of course, man will evolve equally along with it. So those are my ideas. So what do you think about it? What do you think I can change about it?
Yeah, I think so. The idea itself is great. So I shared like a link in the chat about somebody who's like a parachain on Polkadot who are doing something like similar. Now the question here is, why would you need like a relay chain and then like parachains to do it? I can show you. Let me show something very quickly. Okay, so if you're letting like different groups, different types of groups like interacting with each other on blockchain, there is a way for you to create those groups just by using like palettes. So let me show. So if I were to like implement this, what I would do is I'll create multiple instances of the same kind of like group, each with like their own like ID. So you said farmers, you said, so there are different classes of the same structure, or same palette that are interacting with each other, and all of their transactions are happening on the blockchain. So they need not be like individual blockchains of their own. So they're just issuing transactions which are being recorded on a specific blockchain, and that blockchain can be a parachain which is being secured by Polkadot, or that blockchain can be something that I showed you today, like in demo only I'm running the node. So it's listening to all these individual groups with their own IDs, with their own parameters, interacting with me, and then all of those transactions are being packaged in the block space that I have. But yeah, so the concept of like the private relay chain, I'll tell you one use case that we strongly considered. One was so we were interacting with like central banks. Central banks want to have something with different individual banks like maintaining their own blockchains, and then the central bank wanted a relay chain. The reason for that is like Polkadot blockchain, it's public, right? So when a parachain submits a block, it submits like the transactions and the blob with it. So whatever activity is happening on the parachain, it's public because it's like a public blockchain. Maybe it's like encrypted and it has like its own like logic in doing whatever they're doing, but still people are able to analyze things on what's happening on those. So they don't want that. So that's why they want to have a similar kind of architecture where individual banks are going to protect their data, their blockchain on their own, and they only interact with the relay chain to talk to each other, through XCM but this is a private solution, mainly due to like the privacy reasons, regulatory reasons, or others. But for just the application itself, you can leverage the blockchain technology without having like a relay chain or individual blockchains for your use case. And this water protocol is actually doing exactly the same. So you're able to create, if you go through that, like they're like connecting different people together. Like right now, if somebody wants to buy copper, they have to go through a certain middleman or channel. So here you're putting all the commodities on blockchain, and you can directly sort of purchase them. Or so I'll let you take a look at that and then see from the implementation aspect. Like I feel like having a relay chain and individual blockchains for them would be like an overkill. So there's a lot of like work you'll have to do for maintaining the relay chain and maintaining the collator nodes for those parachains. So that's an overkill for the application.
Yeah, thanks, Radha. Thanks, Mario. I think
Yes, thank you, sir.
of course, you should definitely look at it more, understand this ecosystem more. Then you will be able to understand what exactly you need. So I think good thoughts. But then and also once you have some more help required, of course you can always reach to Radha and his team to kind of get help in that. So thanks.
Yes, sir. Sir, before I leave, I'll just ask one small question, sir. What was the hack success rate of Polkadot chain, Polkadot relay chain, sir?
Hack success rate, like has the chain ever been hacked? Or
A specific Polkadot chain that is a connecting bridge for two chains. What was the success rate for it to be hacked, sir?
So far there hasn't been any hack in the XCM now.
Yeah, actually, that was why I thought of this idea, sir.
So XCM need not be hacked, but even the blockchain transactions itself weren't also hacked, right? So the blockchain itself is giving you that level of security. So you need not just rely on XCM for that, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But rather, these parachains can have bridges with other EVM compatible chains, right?
Yeah. So there's one parachain that just announced like a bridge with Cosmos. We already have like Ethereum bridges, but again, we'll have to trust the parachains to implement the code properly. So that's why we don't take
you don't take guarantee of that security, right?
No. So what we are doing is we are implementing. So if you go to Polkadot, you see what's called a bridge hub. So we are going to build the infrastructure where we build trustless bridge. So trustless bridges work like this. Basically, Polkadot will run an Ethereum node, like a light node. And this light node is going to know exactly what's happening on Ethereum, right? So all the finalized blocks on Ethereum, that information is available to Polkadot here. And on Ethereum side, we're going to create like infrastructure where Ethereum will understand what's happening on Polkadot by running like a Polkadot light node. Now, any sort of transaction that happens has to be agreed on both the consensus systems. So XCM, which is like a cross consensus messaging format, is going to create the standard on how this interaction should happen. The bridge hub will actually follow that blueprint, and then anything imported from Ethereum to Polkadot through that bridge hub is secured by the entire Polkadot security, basically.
So sorry, two questions here. So one is that how will Ethereum side understand XCM? I mean, they won't understand that XCM.
It won't. So right now Ethereum has plenty of L2s, right? So what we said was we develop a infrastructure on Ethereum side. that runs the Polkadot node and sort of creates the connection.
Understood. And also, once you kind of are running a light node, the light node only has the block header information. It doesn't really have the entire transaction details in it, right? Then how would the transactions happen there in that case, rather?
Yeah, exactly. So that's where, so because this light node has to be run as a part of like runtime of a blockchain, you can't believe it to be, if it is running on your machine, you can't believe it. That has to run in the runtime of the blockchain.
Oh,
Like very constrained, right? So this is where like all how would I put it? Like the zero knowledge stuff or
Yep.
the Merkle tree magic comes into picture. So the headers, you can't
you can't mess it up. So if you are sure about the header information, then
you
ZK ensures
download download the blockchain transaction history from a full node. That's allowed. So you do that all off chain. You compute like your own header through executing all the transactions outside of blockchain runtime, and then you sort of compare that with the header that you have in the blockchain runtime.
Understood.
And then you say, okay, so this is appropriate. So the calculation can happen outside, but the actual header information, it should be available in blockchain runtime so that nobody tampers with it.
So, I mean, is ZK mandatory in this case? Otherwise, how would you?
No, it's not. So ZK is built based on this logic. Like you just look at the header and then sort of be guaranteed that what they are claiming is actually true, right? So it's not ZK, but ZK is like one of the ways which uses this thing, like putting just a header.
So okay, so you are explaining. I understood the point basically. So what you're saying is that do things off the chain and create a star proof or whatever you want to, and then that proof is validated by the validator basically. And if
so that's in the runtime basically. So and this requires a lot of engineering. And then if Ethereum keeps changing like its specification or upgrades itself, it's going to hit like the Polkadot side, right? So we'll have to. So right now we're still like the bridge is still under development. So once it is developed, then I can talk like more about it. On
do we have any public information on this yet or not yet?
It's so Snowfork is like one of the Snowfork Ethereum bridge.
Snowfork Ethereum, okay.
In fact, they're funded by Polkadot Treasury because it's like a public infrastructure. It's like a highway from one country to the other, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, like this is, let me put that in chat. And then we also have other people like trying to implement like their own solutions, but yeah, this is what we're looking for on deploying on Polkadot.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. Anybody having any other question for Radha? I think looks like we don't have any more questions. So one thing that I want to say that with your knowledge, with your knowledge comes modesty, and I think that's what Radha is a perfect epitome of. And absolutely, I mean it, and because that's what I have been interacting with Radha for more than close to 1 year now, and that's what is my my perception about Radha, and that's what gives me confidence that I could ask so many questions. I don't know, many of them would be silly also, but I don't know. But then, yeah, all of you should definitely take that confidence and work building in Polkadot. And like Radha already is aware of the fact that we have given you questions and challenges in a staged manner, where you start, progressively start from the basic and then you keep going on to the further steps. So please, work with our internal dev advocate, Deepak Chaudhary. And if there is any question, if Deepak Chaudhary needs any help, Deepak, please feel free to ask Radha as well.
Yes,
and,
so we have someone who graduated from Polkadot Blockchain Academy join our team, like TechEd team. So I think I'll put you guys in touch with him. Like, if you really run into some Substrate or Polkadot related like issues, we definitely have the bandwidth to support those issues.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, Radha. So Deepak Chaudhary leads the technical effort on IBC media side, of course, with
Yeah.
Deepak Singh and my help. So he might reach out to you. Thank
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
Radha. Thank you once again, and it's always a pleasure to have you and talk to you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, Deepak, all yours.
Yes, sir. So, guys, I hope the session was useful. I mean, this was the second session of Radha, and we have covered Substrate. But obviously, there would be questions that you might be expecting. You might be facing some problems when you start building or when you start testing, or some people might even know what would have a question as to where to start. So just understand that you have our Discord server to go and put in those queries with us. So make use of the resources that we have shared with you in the chat box here. We'll also be sharing the resource links, all the resource links on Discord server and also on WhatsApp. So make sure you utilize these resources, but at the same time, ask questions wherever you are stuck on our Discord server, because you will need help along the way as we go on complete the module 2. And more importantly, there is module 3, which is dedicated for the building purposes. But beforehand, you should try to be ready with the knowledge, and whatever we will lack thereof during the module 3, we will cover up, right? We will put in the effort to make sure that you understand wherever you face a difficulty. We have Deepak Chaudhary here, and other experts also will be joining us on Discord to help you during the entire module 3 program. And if somebody has a doubt with respect to if you have been given unique network and you are not seeing a session from unique, do not worry. Unique session is also lined up. You'll get more information about the same on your WhatsApp. And I've already shared the information regarding the team formation. If you have not created a team yet, I've shared the link. Let me share it again. Just go and create your team and register your team basically on the link events.ibc.media. And if you do not have team members, then I've also shared the Discord link. Just go and put a query that you need a team, and we will help you out. And I mean, you'll most probably find somebody help you out, reach out to you from the students, from our participant pool itself. But in case that doesn't happen, then we'll obviously guiding you to a team or giving you somebody to work with. So that will help you sort that issue. Apart from that, if anybody has any query, any doubts, please, you are free to put a message in our Discord server, or you can ask right away. If you have something, just drop it out and we will address it. Praveen sir, anything else you would like to address? And before I would come to the final comments of Praveen sir, I would ask, I would like to know from Deepak Chaudhary whether he has something that he needs the students to do after today's session as they prepare for their projects.
Yeah, like Radha shared one link for today's workshop. So I think we have a next session on custom palette. So for that, just go through that workshop also. It will help a lot in that session.
Yeah, so make sure you refer to the CryptoKitty that Deepak Chaudhary is mentioning, and also put some additional effort to understand whatever you learned here. I hope you have taken notes. I hope you have taken notes of the doubts that you might have had, and if you couldn't address them, just reach out to Radha, or you can obviously reach out to us on Discord. Praveen sir, anything you would like to add for students, as they prepare for their development phase?
So no, I think see guys, my only thing is that this journey will not be easy. You may have got a glimpse of the technical complexities, but the reward is also not small. So you need to struggle, you need to work hard. People who have been assigned Polkadot sponsor track, I think you need to get into it, make your hands dirty, struggle. Help is available. As you know, Deepak Chaudhary is there to help you. Even the whole Polkadot team is there to help you. You must have heard Radha saying that. So it is very important. It all depends on you, whether you are serious about it. If you are serious about it, believe me, it could be a game changer for you. And I'm not saying it just for the sake of saying because I am in the session and I have to say something. If you are really serious about it, it could change you. It could just be a game changer for you. So don't take it lightly. Work hard, struggle, go through the documents, go through the documentations, look at different products which have been made on Polkadot, understand what are they doing, what is this all ecosystem all about, understand how does relay chain work, understand how does parachain work, how do parachains talk to each other, what kind of businesses have been built on parachain, what is your business requirement, what are you trying to build, and don't try to build a bank in the first day. That you will not. So try to, in fact, Deepak Singh would have already spoken to you. Try to come up with a small MVP we are good with in the beginning, and then we will expand it. And after this, when you are done with this module 2, then we will talk about having you, some of you already have built the business solution in deck, some of you have not. So please work with the team. It should not happen that somebody from IBC Media calls you and you are not taking it seriously. Do you think, because what is our interest in this? Our interest is very simple. It's not that, we are charging you anything here. Our interest is that we need to build the Polkadot community. And let me be honest on that. We are building Polkadot community, and Polkadot wants this community to be built. You are being invited to be a part of the first, the first members of this community. Of course, there are a lot of people already building, but from your generation, you could be one of the first to do that, right? So you have to take it seriously. And if there is any problem, then please reach out. I would be very disappointed if you are not working on this after coming so far. It is very, very, I mean these guys, basically, we are spending a lot of time, and I have got several meetings right now, but then I've left everything. I wanted to be with you guys so that you get the maximum out of it. Okay. Last thing before I give it back to Deepak Singh, it is not easy. And it cannot be easy. If you expect this to be easy, then I think you are at a wrong place. Please leave. This place is not for, light-hearted people. This is for people who struggle. And I think you should enjoy struggling. I was telling this to Deepak Singh and my other team member this morning, that when I get up, I get excited about what I am going to learn today, now also. And if possible, if I get time, then I will go and try to do some coding for half an hour, 45 minutes. I may not be the best coder because I don't get time. If I spend 20 hours a day in coding, I can challenge any one of you, but I don't have that much time. But still, I like doing some things. I like studying it. I definitely listen to some podcast. I understand the finance. I understand technology. And I mean, these things come naturally to me. I want you to be a naturally native Web3 developer. And I would add to what, Dinesh used to say in Chennai. So you should become a naturally native Web3 developer, naturally native Polkadot developer. And that will not happen easily. Go and struggle. Be ready to, do night outs. Be ready to go and, read through 100 pages of documentation. Be ready to go and explore the world. Okay, once you do all these things, you will start seeing change in yourself gradually. And that change will further provide you that impetus or the jump or the growth that you are looking for. Deepak, sorry for the long answer.
Oh, no, sir, absolutely. I couldn't actually agree more. And I mean, all of it boils down what Radha has said, what you are saying right now. And I mean, it's all in front of you. We are here to ensure that we are repeating the same things, about the teams, about your tracks, about your sponsors, about the things that you need to do continuously, right? So it means that we are dedicated towards your success. We are building a Polkadot community, but that community is about you. And from what Radha has explained today about Polkadot, it's a superbly unique ecosystem. And you will be working with one of the ecosystem companies, which is unique also. Some of you have been allotted that track. And whatever you have learned, Rust, for example, people who have been given Chingari. So that knowledge will be helpful in all of the tracks that you have in front of you. And whichever track you may have been given does not does not limit you from learning anything new. We are here for a certain period of time, for a certain months where will be working with you, provided if in case you don't want to continue, let's say if you wish to continue in other CPs, then well and good. But you have to understand that if you are with us for the next couple of months, then you need to make sure that you utilize all that we are trying to teach you here, we are trying to guide you here. And other than that, I don't think anybody who has made it big, be it in life, in career, in business, you have to find your own path. Hard work, as Praveen sir has mentioned, is up to you. Nobody can stop you. I mean, I hope most of you know Kobe Bryant, and the work ethic, the effort that needs to be put is something, I mean, anybody out there should go and learn from that guy. I mean, the the dedication uh, of becoming the best player, the basketball player has, is what has driven him. And even though he's not here anymore, but he does drive people, even the people who are champions right as of now, he does drive them to an extent where they are just crazy about how and what work ethic that person had. So it was all about competing, learning, evolving himself, and getting the best out of himself every time he goes on the court. And before that, he has to be prepared to the core. I mean, he has to put in more number of hours in the practice than any person out there. That was his own challenge every time every day he woke up. So on similar lines to what Praveen sir has said, I would just request you, like, I know many of you would be having semester exams, colleges and whatnot to take care of, or somebody might have something going on in the family. It all keeps happening. It will keep happen. That's what life is. But you have to understand that nobody can take away the time that you have in your hand, and how you want to use it. It's totally up to you. On that note, please, yeah, as I said, anything, any problem, any doubt you guys have, reach out to us on IBC Media Discord server, and we'll try to help you out in any way, in any manner possible. Once again, guys, thank you for taking out the time for joining the session today. We'll be coming up with more sessions very soon. Stay tuned for more information. By the way, tomorrow we have another session from Chingari, and at the same time, and make sure all of you, uh, irrespective of whichever track you have been allotted, come and join the session, because as I said before, whatever you learn from these guys, because they are part of the company, they are the experts who are working on their own blockchain. So you need to understand whatever they teach and guide you here with is something that is real life career changing information, and it could impart a lot of practical knowledge to you, which might help you in building or creating an idea of your own. So make sure that you do attend the session coming tomorrow by Mr. Prakash from Chingari, right? Obviously, we'll be sharing more information with you on the same. Once again, Praveen sir, it's always pleasure to have you. I know there's so much going on, and you still take out the time to be here, and I can't thank you enough for making sure that you're here to, even a lot of times I know you ask questions to make sure that students are comfortable in the zone where they are, and that doesn't go unnoticed. And I really appreciate the fact that you take in so much effort during the entire session, and your enthusiasm is next to none. So once again, sir, thank you so much for joining us. And obviously my team members, Deepak Chaudhary and Deepak Hudim, thank you guys for organizing the call and helping us with the session.
Yeah,
Praveen
thank you,
sir, any
Deepak.
other comments?
No. I don't want to hold people now. Thank you so much, Deepak,
Yeah.
and Deepak Singh.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks all of you. I'm sure you must have an exciting session today. You must have learned something. Keep learning. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Nice.